City of Rhinelander. We'll call this meeting to order. It's Monday, November 9th, 2020 at 6 p.m. We're in the council chambers. The agenda's been posted. The media has been notified. Val, please call a roll. I haven't gotten to wrap my gavel like that in a while.
Barnett.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Michalowski.
Here.
Kelly. Anderson. Here. Holt.
Here.
Daniel.
Here.
Rossing.
Here.
Mayor Frederickson.
Here. I'll please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments. Is there somebody in the public that would like to speak? Go ahead and stand up. The little button on the thing will turn it orange. And there, you can give your address, your name, and then go ahead and speak.
All right, my name is Nathan Pluff of 715 Mason Street. Just want to give the council public notice that I want to ask for consideration of North Stevens be opened up to ATV, UTV traffic. It's only up till Hodag BP right now. My brother and my dad just bought the bowling alley. Other businesses on that street I think would benefit from it. I talked to the chief of the police and we're scheduled to meet with the chief and fire chief, talk about the safety of it, but had to give a public knowledge of it or whatnot you want to call it. So I think that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's another hand. Bill?
Bill Freudenberg, 323 Marshall Street, Rhinelander. My topic is on the budget that's being proposed tonight for passage. Been through a lot of these budget workshops, listened to what was going on, and the one thing that was not mentioned through these whole budget workshops was the legal expenses. That's a great concern of mine, and I'm sure it's a great concern of the taxpayers of this community as well. Because we know we've gone over our budgets, not only for last year and for this year just as well. So other things that I would like to mention is that I also noticed during these council meetings that none of the council members that I am aware of ask questions about where you're going to get monies from to pay for these bills. None of them. And that's been practiced in the past. And I would like to know as a taxpayer where these dollars are going to come from as well. Another thing pertaining to the budget is I would like to say something about the boulevards in the wintertime and changing the fact that there's a proposal out there or there's discussion to not do the boulevards anymore, to leave that just the way it is during the wintertime. There are safety issues. There are big safety issues. And when I was talking to my neighbor tonight, they hire somebody to remove the snow off the boulevards. But I truly would like to know what the legal expenses are. I didn't get an answer last year, and I'm hoping to get an answer this year. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Do any older persons get communication from your constituents? All right. Thank you. Mayor's comments. First of all, just after last week's Planning Commission, one of the things I want everybody to know in the public or anything else, any property that the city owns is approachable for sale. Now, that doesn't mean we'll sell it or anything else, but at this point, anything that's there is available for discussion, just so that's cleared up. We will be posting a map on the city webpage as far as that goes. But yeah, there's no hidden secrets there. All right, moving on. A proclamation for Election Heroes Day, November 2nd, 2020. Whereas Governor Tony Evers proclaimed November 2nd, 2020 as Election Hero Day in the state of Wisconsin, and whereas free and fair elections and the opportunity to vote safely without fear of intimidation is very important for the city of Rhinelander, and whereas election administration is never an easy task, right, Val? Especially with the unprecedented effects of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic, which affects the election process and the poll workers in the city of Rhinelander. And whereas Election Hero Day provides residents of the city of Rhinelander the opportunity to honor local election staff and clerk. And whereas our election heroes have displayed flexibility, dedication, resilience, and additional risk in the concern of their own health and safety. And whereas the residents of the city of Rhinelander express their sincere appreciation for those election heroes who continue to work and ensure safe, secure, accessible voting for all. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Chris Frederickson, Mayor of Rhinelander, the city of Rhinelander, do hereby proclaim November 2nd, 2020 as Election Hero Day. Thank you. It was an unprecedented year. 5 elections, too. Moving on. Number 6, meeting minutes.
I have a
Ryan.
change. At the beginning, for call to order, it said the meeting was called to order by Mayor Frederickson. I chaired that meeting, just wanted to make sure that was indicated in there, so it was for the record.
Gerald?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to correct the first paragraph, or first part under ordinance's second reading to make it more lined up with what we actually did. And I sent a bunch of you a copy of this. Do I need to read the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. What that should read after second readings, the part in capitals, motion by Anderson, seconded by Rossing to amend proposed ordinance 2020-10 by substituting for the first whereas clause the following: Vital Properties LLC, Brett Child, 806 North Stevens, Rhinelander, Wisconsin 54501, agent for a school district of Rhinelander, 665 Coolidge Avenue, Rhinelander, owner of the vacant parcel located within and part of RH 9332-1104, Rhinelander, requested a map amendment zoning change for a 10,279 square foot section of RH 9332-1104, as shown in the attached certified survey map. The present zoning of this 0.023 acre, 10,279 square feet area is R2, two-family residential district. Are you trying to tell me something, Zach?
Just moving the camera there, Gerald.
Was that your whole motion?
No.
Okay.
Proposed zoning is B3, General Business District, for the purpose of combining the newly created proposed zoning parcel, proposed rezoned parcel with the adjoining lot owned by the agent. And by adding the wording on October 6, 2020, before the words the City Planning Commission in the second whereas clause, and by adding the following after RH 9332-1104 in section 1 of the resolved clauses, quote, parenthesis, fully described in the attached notice of public hearing, parenthesis, unquote. That was the motion, and it had an attachment to it that described the affected parcel, and that should be attached to the ordinance as well. So that's the correction I proposed.
All right.
Chris,
David,
I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next meeting so that we can get, that's an awful lot.
we have it here.
You got it?
Yeah, we have it here, and Steve has a copy also of
Okay.
it.
In
It's fine.
that case, I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes with the above stated changes recognized from Alder Rossing and Anderson.
Second.
Thank you. Gerald, again, thank you for your diligence on this issue. There is a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes with the amendments that were suggested. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. You have it already? Okay. Monthly reports from departments. City Clerk. Anything to add? Whew.
I just want to thank everyone that made that election on November 3rd a big success. Thank you to every single election worker, anybody that helped, the school district for allowing us use of the dome, which is a fantastic facility. Thank you to everyone who made that election go as smoothly as it did. I really appreciate all the efforts.
I posted a video with the clerk afterwards. 878 views. So she's very well appreciated in this community, and that's a good thing. Oh, yeah. EMS Fire.
Nothing to add.
Engineering? Nothing to add. Finance Department?
Nothing to add.
Fleet? Golf? Inspections?
Nothing to add.
Museum Complex. We did receive a written report from Kerry. Yep, and there he is. What's that, Tom?
All right, since everybody else before me passed, I got plenty of time here. That was a joke.
Yeah.
But in an effort to stay on track here, I will stick to my script, which you all have and can go over at a later date if you'd like to. Pioneer Park Historical Complex. 2020 season was certainly one for the history books, although my wife says maybe we want to skip that chapter in the history books. For history's sake, I think we should probably put it in. As was the case for our entire nation, navigating a global pandemic was a challenge for everyone, including the museum complex, a challenge that PPHC stepped up for this summer. Thankfully, summer 2020 in the Northwoods saw limited COVID activity. Working with the Oneida County Health Department, our complex staff, we were able to enact flexible policies that allowed the complex to be open for the 2020 season. And I'm happy to report that we did not have any issues arise throughout the summer. With practically all summer events in the area canceled, we felt it was imperative that the complex would be able to open this season and do so in a way that gave locals and visitors to the Northwoods a safe, family-friendly activity to enjoy. And this could not have been achieved without the support and cooperation with the Oneida County Health Department, the Rhinelander City Council, the City of Rhinelander staff, the complex staff, and everybody that visited the museum this season. After the museum closed for the season at the end of September and all the numbers were tallied, it tells a story of challenges, perseverance, and community support. Our attendance, our average visitation on a normal year is 107 visitors per day, with approximately 10,000 visitors per season. With everything going on this season, we expected less than normal visitation, and our visitation numbers totaled 5,755 visitors, so considerably less. Typically on a normal year, we host 20 or more separate tours that consist of school groups, summer camp groups, tour buses, private organizations. This year, those groups chose not to visit for obvious reasons out of our control. Also, Pioneer Park did not host the annual Oneida County Fair, and so our numbers are reflective of a reality this year. Efforts are being made postseason to increase the publicity for next season in anticipation of a better 2021. Donations. We have 4 donation boxes located around the complex. Budget expectations for donations are set during the previous year's budgeting process. Without a crystal ball, we kind of went about that as usual. This season, the peripheral boxes in the schoolhouse, the Civilian Conservation Corps Museum, and the Railroad Museum did not fare too badly. The main complex donation box in the gift shop and the Logging Museum garnered above expected donations. The expected numbers and actual numbers are as follows. The Logging Museum gift shop, we expected to bring in $1,750. End of season actual was $2,894.60. Rural Schoolhouse Museum expected to bring in $450. Actual end of season was $291. So a little bit less there. We had some of the most dramatic changes of the summer at the Schoolhouse Museum. Typically, that's a museum building that kids love to go into, and it's really hands-on. You sit in the desks, the teachers are wonderful, they help people do activities, and visitors just love that building. Due to safety concerns this year, it was basically a hands-off building like many of the other complex buildings. And so I attribute the lower donation box number there to some of that. The CCC Museum box had $150 in it. That was the expected. The actual was $150. I may or may not have thrown in $3.37 at the end of the year to make that happen. Railroad Museum, we just put a donation box in there. This is our second season with a donation box, and so we don't really know what quite to expect. This year it brought in $479. There's also another donation box down in the basement near the model rail exhibit that contributes toward operating expenses for the Rhinelander Railroad Association. And had not got their numbers yet, but as far as running of the model train, Brendan Marcourt, president of the RRA, said that they didn't do too bad. Accumulated complex total donations expected were $2,350. Actual end of season was $3,814. So given our numbers, visitation numbers cut into just about half, was really surprised and happy with those end of season numbers that were reported. Gift shop sales. PPHC gift shop sales started a bit slow compared to normal. It ramped up midsummer and then declined again in late season. There was, of course, much worry about how COVID would affect tourism in the Northwoods this year. Thankfully, because our area offers an abundance of opportunity for socially distanced and relatively safe outdoor activities, the Northwoods actually saw pretty good numbers at certain times during the summer. That really helped keep our gift shop sales in line with expectations. Even with the dramatic decrease in visitation to the museum, gift shop sales were surprisingly on par with expectations. Through August and September, I was really worried because it had slowed down considerably. June and July were actually not terrible months as far as visitation goes. All things considered, the budget expectation was $5,800. End of season gift shop profits total was $5,732.32. So just shy. I pondered buying a t-shirt at the end of the season, decided not to. I'm very pleased with those numbers, all things considered, and we have made great efforts to take stock of what visitors want to purchase and cater to those requests at the gift shop. Also, keep in mind that approximately 40% or more of our potential sales were declined due to our inability to process digital transactions. That is an issue that I have been working on throughout the summer with Zach and Wendy, and we hope to have a system in place for next season and are on track to do so. Of course, very excited about the future prospects and gift shop sales once that system is in operation. 2020 projects. Throughout any given season, any number of small projects are worked on. Minor maintenance projects such as painting, artifact upkeep, restoration of various features around the complex. I'd like to thank our staff for working on these projects during the season to maintain PPHC as one of the best museums in the country. Routinely, visitors praise the complex for its cleanliness and quality. 88 years in operation and counting, and we aim to preserve this treasure trove of history into the future. I'd like to specifically mention the efforts of a particular volunteer, Jeremy Sackett, for the work that he did maintaining literally hundreds of invaluable tools and artifacts around the complex this season. He really did a great job going through each tool and each artifact, and we went through different resources and decided what could be done to preserve those artifacts better. And again, really want to thank him. We were able to upgrade the museum's phone system to a wireless system, cell phone system, which facilitates the future digital transaction system. We were also able to upgrade the museum's alarm system to provide better security to the complex. Some maintenance was also completed on the infrastructure to replace several exposed lines that had been chewed on by squirrels. Gotta love living in the Northwoods. Aside from the routine projects, we were able to tackle some larger goals this summer. The installation of a paper mill exhibit to represent Rhinelander's long-standing history with papermaking. Special thanks goes to Ron and Elsie Gaber for funding that project, as well as the work done by the Rhinelander Railroad Association, PPHC Advisory Group members Tracy Barnes and Janet Jamison, and by businesses around the community. We were able to put up a very nice display, and a few more touches will complete the exhibit so it's ready to showcase at the start of our 2021 season. The Engine Foundation project has been much watched over the summertime. That was begun post-season and is off to a tremendous start. $55,000 were raised for this project to begin, and it could not have been started without the amazing support of George and Sandra Jutton and dozens of other contributors. The community support received to work on this little locomotive was phenomenal. We are thankful for the partnership with the Rhinelander Community Foundation, the support of this council, and the Rhinelander City staff. Much heavy lifting and work was completed this fall. To see our little locomotive flying through the air was an incredible experience. Maybe you saw it on the front page of the local newspaper. I hope you were able to see those photos of that extraordinary feat. We had hopes of finishing this project in 2020, but due to weather factors out of our control, along with continuous consult from the professionals and contractors involved, we decided to put the project on hold mid-October. Unseasonably cold October temperatures just wouldn't allow us to pour the special foundation needed to carry the 41-ton locomotive, and so the difficult but prudent decision was made to wait till spring. This project will get done, and it will get done right. I will, of course, update this body next season when we pick this project back up. The plan is to have the 5-spot back in place on its new foundation before the 2021 season begins. The 5-spot locomotive also received a brand new coat of paint as well as other cosmetic restorations, and I'd like to thank the Rhinelander Railroad Association President Brendan Marquardt, volunteer John Nevins, and others for their continued work on the engine. This crown jewel of the complex looks better than it has in years. This recap is by no means exhaustive. For a list of other projects, I've included the updated master plan, This is a living document, the master plan, updated by necessity and reflects continuous efforts to identify projects and make goals to work on them at the complex. Post-season, we have been very fortunate these last few years to host a Boy Scouts Railroad Merit Badge program, as well as the Rhinelander Railroad Museum's Christmas Open House, which is very well attended, put together by the Rhinelander Railroad Association in tandem with the complex. With the rising cases of COVID in our area and out of abundance of caution, we made the difficult decision not to host those events this season. We hope we can continue these wonderful community events in the future. Concerning the museum's 2021 budget, I'd like to point out that despite staying on track with the museum's expected income, consideration was made for this extraordinary year we had, and we have requested a decreased budget for next year in hopes this helps with the budgetary decisions this body will make in the coming weeks. All in all, PPHC's 2020 season was a success. Most importantly, everyone stayed healthy. People were able to visit and learn about our area's wonderful history. It provided something for families to do while in the North Woods. It offered a much-needed respite for those that visited. The importance of the city of Rhinelander maintaining this gem of a museum for all to visit and enjoy cannot be understated. Thank you for this council's continued dedication and support. Special thanks to all the complex staff that worked diligently this season, for they truly are wonderful ambassadors of our community. Thanks to the Rhinelander City staff for their assistance over the summer, particularly Jeremy and the park staff, Val, Mary, Beth, Wendy, and Zach. I have the utmost appreciation and respect for you all. And thanks to the PPHC Advisory Board for working to preserve Pioneer Park Historical Complex for generations to come. Any questions? All right, it takes an entire community working together to keep this complex open. I am privileged to be a part of the museum complex's operation, humbled by the support of our community, and excited for a future preserving the past. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the work you do. Backing up one, legal.
I think I could have written my legal report. No, the legal report, you should have all received it. I was trying to find out why it wasn't in the packet, and I just checked, and it is in my my mail, so it should have been sent. But let me just briefly go through it. I'm not going to, just going to hit the highlights of some things you probably may not have full knowledge of, and that's, we continue to work on issues concerning the use of some of the facilities for cellular and internet services. We'll talk about that, if not tonight, in the very near future. We've had several claims against the city that we've been working on resulting from car accidents last year or this winter, past winter, that are now being, claims are being made against the city, and I had to investigate those. As I'm sure some of you may be aware, we have continuing litigation with regard to the Tim Kingman matter, where he's filed a EEOC complaint against the city, and I've been working with insurance counsel on that. Beyond that, just basic, the same type of questions and answers on a regular basis. I will say that if November keeps up at the same speed, you'll be happy to know, Bill, that the legal bills for November will be much lower.
Thank you. Parks, buildings, and grounds.
Nothing further to add.
Police.
Nothing to add.
Streets. Technology. Nothing to add. That was loud, sorry. Water division.
Nothing to add.
And wastewater, Jim's not here. I will accept a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the reports as presented.
Larson, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Reports from boards, commissions, and committees. November 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Carrie, would you like to speak about this?
Sure. So we had a certified survey map that we approved. We had a public hearing on a conditional use permit, and we had a site plan approval, and we did some zoning code and rezoning updates. Then we had the normal inspection department monthly report.
Thank you.
Yep.
Number one under there is approval of a conditional, what? Terry. That's all right.
I apologize for not catching this earlier, but under the first item there, the zoning is currently wrong in the packet. It is actually zoned R3, not R2.
Thank you for that correction. I will, number one underneath is approval of the conditional use permit for the Settlers Village LLC for the purpose of locating a planned unit development consisting of a multi-family building. Current zoning for all the parcels is R3, as Terry pointed out. I'll accept the motion to accept.
Thank you on that.
Okay.
To approve the request for Settlers Village LLC for a conditional use permit for lots RH 1352, RH 1312, RH 1313, RH 1314, RH 1315, RH 1316, RH 1317, and the vacated Hill Street right-of-way, now all combined in one parcel, for the purpose of locating a planned unit development consisting of a multifamily building with 8 individual zero-lot line duplex townhomes with a total of 15 units with off-street parking with the following conditions. Must be consistent with city ordinance requirements. Developer and neighbors work together for a suitable barrier. All light pollution to remain on the property. All lighting must be downward.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. October 23rd, 2020, Police and Fire Commission meeting minutes. they're in their packet, and then also was accompanied with a letter that came to us from the Police and Fire Commission that has been handed out to you also. Do you want me to read it? I can read it. To Mayor Frederickson, City Council President Ryan Rossing. Dear Mayor Frederickson and President Rossing, the Police and Fire Commission has been asked to review the residency requirements for Rhinelander police officers. The commission has seen a substantial reduction in the number of qualified applications. It is the opinion of the chief and the union that the pool of quality candidates will increase if the residency requirement is relaxed. That decision is solely up to the Police and Fire Commission, since we are the body which the statutory responsibility to adopt the rules, calculate, and to secure the best service in the department. Just as important as procuring the best candidates for hiring police officers, there's a need to attract the best pool of interested candidates to serve on the Police and Fire Commission. The Rhinelander City Council in 2017 passed an ordinance requiring commissioners to be residents of the city. This residency requirement is not statutory mandate. It is implemented by ordinance. As a commission, we feel that limiting the potential commissioners to the city residents only, thereby excluding citizens who reside in the outskirts of town but who work within our community, does a disservice to the best interests of Rhinelander. Other city commissions allow non-city residents to serve. The Police and Fire Commission should not be treated differently. We hereby request that the city ordinance requiring only city residents serve on the Police and Fire Commission to be rescinded and/or amended to allow the mayor and the city council to consider all interested commission candidates. Respectfully. And it was signed by three, and I believe it's Matt Whalen, Brandon Caraba, and Todd McEldowney.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? For the interest of the meeting minutes and for whatever, one of the things I stated about a month and a half ago is that until we as policymakers change policy, we will live by the policy that's in front of us and we will uphold it. So for the time being, I would see that commission seat would be vacant until either we decide to change that policy and or fill it with somebody who is a resident within the city. Eileen? Eileen raised her hand. I'll get on you next, Gerald.
My question is, why was the decision, I don't know the historical context of why the decision was made in 2017 to limit it only to Rhinelander residents. Was it allowed prior to 2017?
Tom?
Terry can speak to us on the historical context of that.
Terry, would you like to get up and refer to the historical reference on this issue? Yeah.
See that bus come by?
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's never been a police and fire commissioner that has not been a city resident. There's been a couple in the past that when they've decided to move out of the city, they have no longer been on police and fire commission for that reason. This happened because there was, well, it happened in 2017 where the city ordinance was actually changed to say that you had to be a city resident.
Mayor?
Yes.
I think to do this properly, I think we should put this forward to the next agenda so we could discuss it
Absolutely.
in detail. Right now, we just are going off of the Police and Fire Commission meeting minutes. So I think this is something that needs some attention and it should be agendized properly.
Yep, I was discussing the meeting minutes more than discussing it as a movable item. I was referring back to the fact that we follow policy as stated in our books. The discussion of whether or not we're going to follow policy or move forward with it is a separate issue. And yes, you're correct, should be agendized otherwise. But Gerald, did you have something to say about the meeting minutes?
Well, yeah, two things, kind of. One is, I can't understand if this is a commission of the city of Rhinelander, why it should include people from outside.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of.
We can discuss that when we agendize
The
it.
other thing is, what other commissions do allow people from non-residents? That statement was made.
Correct. We can ask for clarification on that when it's agendized, and they can speak to it at that point. Moving forward, or actually, I'll accept
I will make a motion to accept the reports from boards, commissions, and committees as presented.
Rossing, second. Is that just the, didn't we already approve A?
no. We did A? Correct. Yes.
Yes.
All right. I think it still makes sense, so I'll second that.
All right. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And Val, you probably list that under new business for next time? Thank you. Introduction of new business. Presentation of the 2021 proposed annual budget.
All right. Good evening, everyone. In front of you is the large compilation of the 2021 budget. It was also emailed to you all last week. I gave you also a transmittal document, as I refer to it, with the number of highlights. The budget this year, from a tax levy perspective, spending increased only $35,000 over 2020, which is a product or compliance with the expenditure restraint program, which the city participates in. So just under just over a 3/4% increase. What does it do to the city portion of the tax rate? About $5, just over $5 on a $100,000 home. Also, staffing levels across departments remain unchanged at the same staffing levels this year, with 2 current vacancies within one in the human resources space, as well as the public works director, public works leader position. Also, a 1% cost of living adjustment for non-union classified employees is proposed in the budget, with a 2.5% to the contractually obligated union protected class of the police and fire folks. And then there's a number of items following this tonight with resolutions pertaining to various rate adjustments. And then I guess in conclusion, I'd be looking for your feedback or any questions you got, sorry. I think by my count, we sat through 5, if no less than 5 work sessions. So I appreciate all the effort that you all put in and to sit through those to give staff and I the opportunity to talk about the budget compilation. It was a major effort by everyone, and certainly for our city staff that have their day-to-day responsibilities with this over the course of August, September, October, and now in November. So thank you for giving them your attention. And certainly to our finance director, who has also been facing understaffing as we fill the HR vacancy, and she's pulling some double duty in that regard. And then there are some pieces that will follow this as well. The city's contract with the Oneida County Economic Development Corporation, the Oneida County Humane Society, as well as the agreements with the room tax organizations that we work with, which is currently the chamber. So you'll see those items within the budget this year, and so those contracts will be brought before the council. However, tonight we'll establish the funding thresholds for those organizations. So with that, that'll conclude sort of the high-level presentation, because you've all seen it over the course of those meetings and have had the final in your packet.
So we had work sessions and we came with the budget. The other portion that is near and dear to me is how our department heads take this. We had and I do this quite frequently, is just a scoring analysis real quickly on a 1 to 10, what people thought of the budget process this year, last year, 10 years from now. So on and so forth, and with the majority of them coming up with high scores, it gave me some confidence that we're moving in the right direction. So we did learn some difficulties that need to be addressed for the future, so definitely we accept the learning curve along with the praise. We accept the opportunity to get better. That being the case, I can say in front of council that our departments are confident in this budget. Any questions?
Yes, I have one.
Gerald?
Looking on the page, mayor and council talks about legal fees going down dramatically for next year. And I just wonder what's the basis of that. And then I would also comment, you know, the questioner, gentleman asked earlier about legal fees, and you have to look through the whole budget because it appears under almost every department. But this is the one that was reduced the most dramatically for next year. I just wondered what the basis is or the expectation there.
It was actually increased, Gerald, if I'm looking at the right one, unless you're talking about the specific to the mayor, but the city council and committees, well, maybe you're talking about the legal services and the general legal services. Is that right, Gerald? Which portion?
Well, right in the middle of, yeah, okay, right in the middle of the page is one that says attorney legal.
Yeah,
right above mayor.
All right, so right, that would be the general legal services. All told, I believe the budget for legal fees is under 100,000 or just shy of 100,000. But yes, the redistribution of those costs did occur throughout the various, from a cost accounting perspective, because some of the utilities are not general fund levy items that we want to make sure those utilities are also picking up the costs for the legal fees in their respective cost centers. So that would be the first notation. I would say the other notation is we hope for a little less activity from a legal perspective in terms of trying to stay on top of issues as we've addressed a lot of things, but also being a bit more proactive. And then having, from an administration perspective, having an administrator take on some of the responsibilities of preparation of the various ordinances in concert with the clerk's office. So there's a variety of factors that we considered as we thought about the appropriate budget for the legal services for next year. And I can also say that, you know, in conversation with our attorney, you know, looking at a bit more of a project-based as opposed to dealing with like open records requests, for example, those were just an incredible cost this year. And hopefully between the administration and the clerk's office, we'll be able to work through those in-house without having our attorney to spend their precious time, a valuable time at a valuable price on those issues. So that would be a couple of comments that I would offer on that question.
To address some of that too, Gerald, we brought up the software that we looked at last time as far as that goes. That should reduce it somewhat. Once again, a stable environment of where to get the information from to move forward with the next step before it reaches our attorney were avenues that we looked that we definitely could cut costs. Some of your question where the legal fees are across the whole budget, that's something I've been asking for 3 years because I would like them all to be just in one chunk too. The problem is every part of our government, and I mean every part of it, has a legal obligation, whether we sign a contract with software or wherever, to possibly look at it. Therefore, that responsibility does fall under their budget, even at times when it just does nothing but handcuff them in that part of their budget. So we do understand that that is a moving target, but yet at the same time, the due diligence that we put together, hopefully will answer that.
Well, I'll admit I didn't go through and add them all up, but I'm accepting the statement that the total comes out about the same for next year. Is that right, Zach?
The same as the projected, or I'm sorry, the same as the actual for last, what's your measure of comparison?
Yeah.
Same to what?
Projected, I guess, is what I was looking at.
Well, it's less than what the projected are for this current year, and they're less than the projected for last year, which I think just the clerk's office alone last year was $40,000 for open records requests and other matters.
Eileen?
And didn't we also hire a local attorney to handle the traffic, traffic as well? So that's
That was pretty quick, but yes, we did.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
As those of you that are department heads know, that the mayor challenges us to give our goals for 6 months or a year, and I've established the goal of reducing legal fees for the city of Rhinelander, and I really think we're getting somewhere with that. Now, I want everyone to be very cognizant of the fact, even though we're trying to limit the amount of fees, and I'm trying to do double duty a lot of times when I come up here. I try to balance it off with other things that I have going so that I don't charge the city. I think most of you know, I don't charge the city to travel up here. I only charge between my home in Leona and over here. So I try to use that 3-hour trip up here and back for other business, and I never charge the city for that. Likewise, if I can double up with another meeting, and I've been able to do that a couple times this year, that cuts the cost again. So as your city attorney, I've been very cognizant. I've been trying to cut back on the costs. I've been trying to hamper some of the other attorneys in my office from, thinking that this was a place to make a lot of money. And I think you'll see a significant decrease. Now, that's all predicated on we don't have somebody starting another lawsuit. We don't have somebody, raising an issue that takes up a great deal of our time. I mean,
we've also taken efforts now to hire HR for those reasons. I mean, we could have eliminated probably 3 lawsuits based on having somebody there to stop that progress or streamline when those things are happening. So we've taken other issues that way. The other portion of this is we've done 3 times as much work in the city of Rhinelander that we have had in previous years. That's going to take a little more in legal fees because they're going to have to review it. If we wanted progress to stop and not work on any developments or work on any issues that way, that would be one way to eliminate those fees, but that's not what the people really want. That is not what the taxpayers want, and that I can confirm 150%. All right. With that, public hearing regarding the 2021 actual budget. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on the budget? Second time, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak about the budget, the 2021 budget? And third time, to satisfy the law, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on the budget? This closes the public hearing. Approval of Resolution 2020-19, adoption of 2021 budget and approval of the tax levy.
Page 39.
It's page 39 in your packet. Thank you. Ryan?
Rossing, I'll make a motion for the approval of the resolution 2020-19, adoption of 2021 budget and approval of tax levy.
Holt, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Val, please call roll.
Michalowski,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. The budget's been passed. Approval of Resolution 2020-20 ambulance rates. It's page 41 in your packet.
So this item you had seen a preview of at, I believe it was the last budget work session when we talked about the revenue side of the budget. And so we've got the amended rates built right into the resolution. And then subsequent to that is the previous rates as well as somewhat of a rate survey from our billing provider, LifeQuest. Chief could talk more about this in terms of background, but we also added an item in there. You'll see a new item called lift assist fee. And we're doing some exploration to see if, just by passage of this resolution, if we can essentially assess that fee for that service. That's when the paramedics or the ambulance go out to nursing home facilities, assisted care, such facilities to do patient lifts. And generally, they aren't billing for that call for service unless they're transporting somebody or providing additional care, if I'm not mistaken. So it's more of a cost recovery item versus not achieving any revenue for that service presently or billing the patient. And really, it should be the care facility performing that service is at least the chief's position, I believe is fair to say on that. So that's a bit on the ambulance rates. The estimated revenue projection of the rate adjustments based upon what we can actually collect, because not, if people are on a restricted payment class, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera, their reimbursement rates are capped, but I believe it's about a $50,000 net revenue increase is what we're budgeting conservatively based upon our current ambulance volume run. Of course, the pandemic had an impact to that earlier this year, but the budget you just passed has some assumptions built into it as it relates to the ambulance fees.
Terry, anything you would like to add to that?
Not unless anybody has any specific questions. I think the one, we do have one. I think the one major thing to note about these increase in ambulance fees, and some of them are substantial, is that this is based on a study that LifeQuest did for us. And the majority, if you remember, during my budget presentation, I indicated how much of, I showed a pie chart, and I indicated how much of our calls were Medicare, Medicaid, which were right around the 70% mark of our call volume. So essentially 70% of our patients will not even see an increase, because it doesn't matter if we charge $10,000 for a call. Medicare says you're only going to get this much. So I think it's important for everybody to know that our extremely elderly population that has a fixed income and has a very small income are not going to see this rate. It'll be pretty much the private pay or insurances that are going to be affected by this. And then if, as long as I'm up here, if anybody has any question about the lift assist, I'd be happy to answer them.
Eileen.
How often are you called out to do a lift assist?
It kind of depends. It's been more and more frequently, which is what prompted us to look at something like this. And what this will be is strictly for assisted living or nursing homes where they do not provide enough staff. So if we get called to a nursing home for somebody that fell out of bed, and we go there and we do a medical assessment, and that patient signs a refusal that they don't want to go, that's a legit call. We're not going to bill this lift assist, and we wouldn't also bill the patient in that. What this is meant to do is for the nursing homes or assisted living facilities that are kind of using our service as workers. And what I mean by that is if somebody falls out of bed and they need a lift into bed, but the nursing home doesn't staff appropriately, there's one staff on duty at night, then the nursing home is going to pay this bill because they chose not to staff. They're using us as their staff then. And because they chose to understaff their facility, they're going to be penalized for it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Oh, did we even accept the motion? Yeah, yeah,
we have not.
I did not.
I have a question.
Yes, Gerald.
How many people don't have insurance or Medicaid or some other way of having it paid, and what do we do with them?
I don't have an exact number to report to you for that. It's a very small amount, and we usually go to we use the TRIP program, the tax rebate intercept program, to get some of those, or they'll go into collections.
I'll accept the motion.
Yeah, just one more thing for Terry. I think the way I'm looking at this, the rate survey, Terry, everything that is proposed is either at or below average except for our rates for the ALS2, which is within, it's about $200 or so difference from the average, just above. But everything else is either at or below, is the way I'm reading this. Correct?
No. If you look, so you're looking at the Rhinelander Fire Department level of service currently, that's
Okay.
at or below. So you're looking to the left of the average. Our proposed, what you see in this packet would be to the right of the average. So it will be, in most cases, just a little bit above the average mark.
Okay, yeah, I see the increase on the right-hand side now.
Right. And that's just the average. That's not necessarily, we're not at the high end, you know, on a lot of those.
And that's, of course, off of 2020 data.
Yes,
So,
correct.
you know, other municipalities that are looking at a rate adjustment wouldn't be reflected in this number yet.
Tom?
Terry, I remember when we bought those ambulances, how were they holding up?
Not good.
No?
No, I mean, clearly
half a
this
dozen
is,
years ago.
clearly this is something that will also assist the city in replacing at least one. We'll be looking in the borrowing issue this year to replace at least one of the three. We were supposed to be replacing them on a 5-year rotational basis so that our oldest ambulance would be essentially 15 years old. But they spend a lot of time at Public Works getting fixed right now, so.
Thank you, thank you.
Rossing, motion to approve the resolution 2020-20 ambulance rates.
Larson, second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Val, please call roll.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the motion carries. Approval of Resolution 2020-22 sewer, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. 2021 stormwater utility rates, page 46 in your packet.
So as the resolution states, the city established a stormwater utility back in 2012, right before the state statutes were changed and disallowed municipalities from creating such utilities. So this is where the city charges a majority or a good portion of its storm sewer maintenance and collection system work to. As I think I mentioned in the resolution, over the years, the costs have increased. Obviously, our maintenance activities need to increase as we discussed at the work sessions later this summer. Accompanying that is, so currently the rate is $39 per ERU, and the proposal is to change it to $51 per ERU. The pages accompanying that, and I highlighted them in yellow, and I probably should have known that this was going to be printed in black and white, but they're bolded, are basically the comparable municipalities across the 122 municipalities that have stormwater utilities. So I would say that this will maintain us in the lower to middle part of the pack if you were to look at all of those. Another consideration by the council could be in the future to eliminate the credit policy. We have a policy when it was established to offer credits of up to 100%. If somebody goes through the process to fill out like a determination, to seek a determination of a credit, most municipalities either don't refund or refund somewhere between 50 and 60%, and we do a maximum of 100. So just something to consider. So essentially it's $1 per month increase on the stormwater utility. The other thing worth noting is when we received our 2019 annual audit, we talked about the fact that the stormwater utility is running a deficit of about $1 million annually, or a structural deficit. So this does not put us in the black by any means, but it'll probably over the course of 7 years, 5 to 7 years, it'll get us closer. So this is something that council is going to want to look at going into the future, probably annually, doing some form of adjustment.
Rossing, make a motion to approve resolution 2020-21 stormwater utility rates.
Mikulowski, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eileen?
I guess my question is this something that requires a public hearing for people to weigh in on?
That's a good question.
Since it's a rate increase, you know, it affects everyone in the city.
Good
So-
question. So your ordinances, nor do state statutes require a public hearing or any form of public notice on stormwater because they're not regulated. Whereas I think in the budget transmittal letter, I indicated that our water utility is one that the Public Service Commission does regulate, and we would have to go through the whole hearing process and rate review and analysis. So the same would be true for the sewer utility, which is the next resolution on here. So ordinances, neither local ordinances nor state statutes require any sort of public hearing. It was
Okay.
publicly noticed, obviously, on the agenda tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Val, please call roll.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of Resolution 2022 sewer utility rates, and this is on page 50.
So similarly to the last two, again, one of our utilities that's falls outside of the general fund tax levy, the Stevens Street project, as well as the debt service associated with that, on top of just a renewed annual capital replacement program that the sewer utility is undertaking. While there is a fund balance in the sewer utility, a positive fund balance, some of that is reserved for meeting the debt obligations of that fund. This one is proposing to increase basically from $8.75 to $9 per 1,000 gallons of metered water, so a 25-cent per 1,000 gallon increase. That generates a fairly small increase of revenue. The utility overall is about a $3 million, well, a little over a $3 million fund. So it'll generate about $50,000 of an increase. The utility is also planning to do some capital replacements beyond the lift station repairs that we've discussed or heard about. There's some equipment both at the treatment plant because of its age. It's getting to a point where some of that equipment out there is going to need to be replaced, and those things generally are not at a insignificant cost. So looking at taking a very small rate increase for next year in the sewer utility. Obviously, like other rates, the option to do nothing exists, but as we kick the can on some of these, we look at doing double-digit increases if you don't do them for a period of time. So that would be the recommendation here in this resolution.
I'd accept the motion.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-22 sewer utility rates.
Holt, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Tom?
Where are we as far as compared to other cities for what we charge for water?
For water, we'll have that analysis when we do the rate review.
Okay.
I know there's a great link on the Public Service Commission's website for water where you can select municipalities in like size. You can also select like socioeconomic or community demographic information, so I can email out a link to all of you on the water side, and we'll discuss that in further detail. As it relates to sewer, because it's unregulated, a lot of the data is not as well prepared like the stormwater. There's an association that collects that data. The wastewater, and if Jim was here, I could ask if I've not come across a resource where they generally show those. We could do our own survey, and maybe it'd be beneficial to do that over the course of time next year, just to have that information from a comparable standpoint.
Okay.
Any further questions? Val, please call roll.
Kelly. Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Ayes have, the motion carries. Stevens Street pay application number 14 in the amount of $68,139.24 for work completed through 10/26/20.
Rossing, I'm going to make a motion to approve the Stevens Street pay application number 14 in the amount of $68,139.24 for work completed through 10/26/20.
Holt, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anything you want to add, Mark?
Push the
Press
button.
the button. Thank you.
It's been on the whole time. I've been sitting back there.
Yeah, sorry.
Not much to add. This is just some finalizing some quantities for this year. This will be the last pay request until the June, July timeline of next year once we start finishing it up.
Should we suggest that there may be another one, but just leave it. Yeah. There may be another one too following, just so you're aware. Anyway, but moving on. No further questions? Val, please call roll.
Barnett,
Just stay there.
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Change order number 13 incorporating WCD 34 for $4,119. This change order also includes language for the extended warranty, July 2nd, 2023, for the concrete poured late in the season, and the test that indicated it had low air content.
So the first part of this change order is the next thing that will be approved on the agenda. That's sign installation. Stevens Street, it was not worked into the contract to replace all the sign posts and all the signs. The city has taken a different approach at assigning or installing new signage. The contractor took that approach on this, so there's some added work to that. So that's what this change order is for the additional signs. You saw this in the 2019 work as well. The additional warranty, so we had the late season pour last year in the cold weather. Contractors took all the necessary precautions, pulled frost out of the ground, they put blankets on the concrete. But it got cold during that time period. There were 8 days of cold weather pour. So there was some concern, and the city just wanted to verify that all that concrete was in good shape. So we took cores on several samples of that concrete that was poured during the cold weather. And we had our soils company analyze that concrete. And how they do it is they shave thin slices and they actually stick it under a microscope and they look for frost damage. And that was the indicator. That's what we were looking for during those tests. There was no frost damage. That's the good news in any of that concrete. And we picked the worst areas in that sample. So there was no frost damage. However, during that testing, they discovered one sample that had low air. If there's low air in the concrete, it decreases the ability for the concrete to contract and expand when you get water in there for freeze thaw. And what you'll generally see with that is what we call spalling. So if you see big or little chunks of the concrete on the top, they start popping off, that's spalling. That's generally what you'll see in a low air conditioned concrete. With this concrete, there were several pieces that we pulled out because it was spalled, it wasn't in good shape, and we noticed that when we did the walk through this spring. There's a handout that went along with this change order. It's a plan set. It shows the areas of that pour on that date of November 6th. Also shows areas that were already replaced this year. We had talked about this at length with city staff and the contractor, how to address this. The total amount of concrete is between $15,000 and $16,000 worth of concrete. In lieu of removing all the concrete, we gave the contractor the option to do some additional testing because their testing shows their air was fine, which may not be wrong. What we sampled was one core, 4 inches in diameter. Their testing showed differently. There were probably multiple loads on that day. So their air may have been good in one load, bad in another load. We're not exactly sure what happened, but we're giving the contractor the opportunity to take additional tests, replace all the concrete, or extend the warranty. So what we've done in this contract is extend the warranty through 2023. So the warranty period will end July 2nd, 2023. That'll put all that concrete through 4 freeze-thaw cycles. If that concrete is going to fall apart, we should have some very good indication at that time. Contractors okay with that. That's why they signed the change order. So that concrete that you show on that plan set will have a warranty to July 2nd, 2023.
Thank you. So the next part is to pay for that, I guess, work change direct.
2nd, 2022 is the warranty period. Everything's done on the Stevens Street project. So we'll do a walkthrough at that time to look at any damaged concrete and anything, damaged concrete, asphalt, any pipe failures, any restoration issues, whatever it may be. It's all covered under warranty. With this, we'll do another walkthrough in 2023. Or if staff notices something throughout the year, we'll note it and we'll have the contractor come in and replace it.
Thank you.
I'll accept the motion on the work directive number 34.
Did we do a motion for change order number 13? I don't believe we did.
You are correct.
All right, well, I will make a motion to approve change order number 13 as presented.
Rossing, second.
Any further discussion? Val, please call roll.
Larson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Mikulowski.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Rossing.
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett.
Aye.
Next, work change order directive number 34, which is the change of scope.
I will make a motion to approve work change directive number 34 as presented.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Tom?
Can you tell us exactly what the money provided for the sign?
Yeah, so typically on a Rhinelander street project, the contractor is responsible for replacing any signs. So if they pull a stop sign, has a post, has a sign on it, they lay it aside. Once a street is reconstructed, they put that sign back up. If the sign is damaged, they replace it. Going forward on this project, we wanted to replace or the city staff wanted to replace all the posts. So instead of putting the old posts up, because it's a brand new, beautiful project, put new posts up and all new signs. So where the contractor generally does not install new signage on the existing posts or put in new posts, they had to do all that. Now, putting the posts back in, they did not charge for putting posts in because they had to do that anyway. But the new process for the city is not just one post, it's taking one post, cutting it in half, putting a post in the ground, and then bolting the second half to it. That way there's some adjustment in the height. So had they just put the post in the ground, added a new sign, the cost would have been less, but with this process, it gives the city some adjustment to raise those signs up and down.
Okay, thank you.
Val, please call roll.
Anderson. Holt.
Aye.
Mikulowski.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Rossing.
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Bills and claims in the amount of $2,250,526.21. Page 82 is a summary in your packet.
I will make a motion to pay the bills and claims in the amount of $2,250,526.21.
Daniel, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Val, please call roll.
Holt,
Aye.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly, Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Introduction of unfinished business, discuss the administrator's search. This is my topic and was a part of my lengthy work this last week. One I've tabulated, council's work session issues, and I can go through them 1 through the 8 issues as far as that goes. Number 1, from the processes I gathered from each and every one of you, a moderator, a mediator, a moderator is to be had. Number 2, 4 to 5, and we'll call it 4 to 5 of you, suggested that we outsource this to another group as far as the search and the payment. That also, they agreed on the projected time of 6 months and of 2 interview processes. So that's what we've tallied from that portion going forward. The wage, it was open for further discussion, but no concrete cap if the correct applicant came forward. But correct applicant could be inexperienced and reasonably bought for the same thing. We decided that most of our decisions with that will be handled right now in the contract, as changing policy as far as our ordinance for a city administrator or anything else is not feasible. This will take a workstation, which will go down, work session, which will be listed lower. Number 4 had no new additions at this time and had to do with our culture here. Number 5, a team, no micromanaging. The review process needs to be settled in the beginning before that. 6, none was done. Department heads' involvement, that was still a question when it came to the interview process or whatever, not discussing that. We'll need more clarity. We gave a lot of weight to that, but where they actually fit in that process will be the next part also. We need a workshop for number 8. Number 8 was not chasing your tail with the different portions, so we definitely need a workshop for council to discuss what that looks like and what it means to us. Number 3, when it came to the evaluation of our values of talent, experience, character, leadership, and credentials, I took the numbers and added them up and then divided them by 9. I know only 8 of you turned it in, so they'll all be basically a point short as far as that goes. But with talent, it came out to a score of 7.1. Experience was 6.4 in value. Character was 8.9. Leadership was 8.1. And credentials was 5.6. So as we go through it, right now we have 9 current applications for the job. We will look at that. We used the material that was from GovHR, from NeoGov, and our own ordinances to post against those credentials and those people. We'll discuss at the next work session that we'll schedule here in a week or so, when or how those should be vetted. Also in tune with that, one of the things I did was I reached out to IPR Integrated, which is a public resources. They do a lot of municipal administrator services. They were one of the people that worked on the investigation with Von Briesen for some of the issues we've had before. Once again, lowering the fees is key to us, so hiring correct HR, make sure we do the process right is key. That being the case, when I spoke to them, and explained our process and how it was on video and how we have X amount already out there, but want to push it out further. And then the areas we need to shore up as a council to make sure they're done correctly. I asked if he would do a presentation of the breakdown, because he said it sounds like you've already done half to 3/4 of the work that we would do, which is good. And it's good to know that we can when it comes to paying the $25,000. Can we do this for $5,000 or something else when it comes to posting it elsewhere, casting that net and then vetting that net and how that net is vetted? So I asked him if he'd present at council or maybe the workshop as far as that goes, as to what types of breakdowns of services we can have done so we know which parts we can do and which parts then we would pay for. So that's where it sits right now is we do have those 9 out there. I'll extend a please be patient letter to them, noting that we will do this through to its entirety and do it correctly. Any questions? All right, that's all I have for that. Presentation from insurance carriers for insurance services. By the way, thank you for sitting that long. Truly was Zach's idea to put you at the end. And tell you the truth, most of the council would cringe at the fact that I was going to give an update before you. So,
I already told them that was your decision, so you approved the agenda. Well, good evening to those that are joining us and been patient tonight. As I briefed all of you in a memo last week, we concluded the search or the request for proposals, received 3 competitive bids. We invited 2 of the proposers here tonight, the current carrier Civmec and League Mutual. And those folks have given them a small amount of time just to present themselves and to talk about their services and their relationship or desire to have a relationship with the city in either case. We kept this solicitation in-house to reduce costs. Again, not necessarily warranting, particularly with some experience that I have, instead of using an outside broker or somebody to solicit proposals and vet them, but it did take a little bit more time than with everything else going on with budget to bring it to the council. So appreciate your patience on that. Not that you were necessarily chomping at the bit to get these, but really it was a good exercise for the city, as I mentioned, not only just for competitiveness, but also just to see what the market looks like and to review our own coverages to make sure that we've got adequate coverages, as well as things like statement of values to make sure we're not missing some of the covered property that the city insures, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that this is a topic that department heads have also weighed in on over time as we've gone through the process. And so they may have some comments to offer prior to your decision tonight, should you decide to make one. So in order of, I guess, alphabet, we'll invite Palin up here from Civmec to speak. If you could just come to the podium, there's a button at the bottom of the mic. It should turn from blue to red, and he's got a handout for you all too. So welcome, Palin.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council and Zach, for the invitation to come speak with you. I know that premiums and deductibles is going to be the most riveting part of your evening. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and try to respect everyone's time, targeting about 15 minutes here. And just in conversation with Zach, I understand that some of the numbers and that you've already kicked around, and you might do so more going forward. So I want to take a little bit different approach, and I want to talk about Civmec at kind of a higher level. And the reason I'm doing that is this is your company. We are owned by you and 51 other municipalities across the state. And so I try to put myself on your side and say, all right, if I own a company, what do I want to know about it? And that's what I'm going to try to walk through today. You might be wondering why I went old school, or you may be wondering why I spent so much money on really fancy documents for you. I can't claim that. These are the brochures that we hand out at the different conferences for the year, and we didn't have a whole lot of those. So lucky for all of us, we're standing here with a nice shiny marketing brochure. I'm actually going to start right with the cover, and it talks about this being a stewardship report, and I think that's really important. Civmec looks at itself as stewards of your resources. Again, you're the owners, not us. Pretty much everything we do, our entire existence, is because of and for the members themselves. So whatever the municipality's needs are, that's what we are trying to constantly meet. And so you give us resources in the form of premiums, and we try to give you back services, insurance coverage, et cetera, to go ahead and fill some of those needs. On that first page, we have a mission and vision, of course, but really the most important thing there, I think, is over in the guiding principle. And it talks about our success being a direct result of municipalities that are collectively engaged and invested in their membership. And that is one thing that I've just found to be outstanding about our membership as a whole. How involved they are and how much part of community we really are. I guess by way of example, we've been in existence for 34 years, and we've had 2 members leave in 34 years. Now, there's not a lot of insurance companies that would probably even believe that statement. They would have me on a polygraph test over here. And I'd love for us to get all the credit for that, but that's really not what's going on. What's going on is we have this mutual partnership. So our members understand the value and invest not just for themselves, but for the other municipalities that are a part of this. You know, we benefit and we get to look good and enjoy serving and helping, but it's really our members that make this thing go. And so it's been a pretty unique experiment since we began, again, 34 years ago. But be able to say that, I think, really points to that involvement of the members, and that's the most important part. The CIVMIC insurance coverages themselves, not going to bore you too much here, but just again, so you understand your company. On top of the line, we have the liability workers' comp and the auto physical damage coverage. Those are written on what I would call CIVMIC paper, so we kind of keep that in-house. Below the line, there's a number of other different group purchases that are offered to you. Some of these are mandatory, some of them are optional, but those are different coverages that can be obtained through CIVMIC, and we might use an outside broker, et cetera. What we're trying to do there is use our buying power, which is really your buying power, and your strength as a collective to go out and either get products that you wouldn't be able to get, prices that you wouldn't be able to get, services that you might not be able to obtain if you were trying to do it on your own. And so again, that's just one of the advantages of being in the mutual. The only thing in here that I should draw attention to as being somewhat unique is down in the right-hand corner, you'll see MPIC. That is the property carrier. MPIC is separate from CIVMIC. We're the agent on your behalf. So when you're kind of looking through the whole proposals and you're wondering how does that property piece fit in, we actually are 1/3 owners of MPIC along with the league and WMIC. And so what we did is when the property fund kind of went south, we tried to find a solution that just wasn't there in the market for our members. And so that's how MPIC came about and how we're related to it. All right, so with an eye on the clock here, on the next page, CIVMIC at a glance, you might be wondering why it says 50 and I've been saying 52. Well, this is 2019's stewardship report. As of 2020, we are at 52. And but these numbers are going to reflect last year. And I don't know if you think this is big or small or somewhere in between, but we do about $15 million in premium per year. And you can see the breakdown on the different coverages that they come from. We are recognized by AGRIP, which is a widely known assessor of the quality of different government pools. And we're also AM Best rated, which again, if I'm you and I want to understand, well, how stable are these guys and are they doing the right things? We don't have to get an AM Best rating. We do that by choice. And we do obtain an A6 stable rating. That is the highest rating we can possibly get for our size. And so we'd like to think that we're doing things right on both the financial side and the service side, which I'll get to here in a minute. Member exposure, so kind of a flyover. What do we look like? If you put it all together, we have about 26,000 employees that we work with collectively. And the population count there is about 1.35 million. And so I kind of look at it this way. We touch about 1/4 or so of the population of the state of Wisconsin every single day. And we do that through the services that we provide in our municipalities, and hopefully we equip you as members to go ahead and serve your communities in a better, more productive way as well. Our vehicle counts, some of those other things, they're there, they're numbers if you're interested. But I'm going to keep moving in the interest of time here and hit the claims management. Probably one of the most important numbers you can look at in an insurance company is your loss ratios, and that's speaks to for every dollar that you spend, for every dollar that goes out, how many are you paying in claims. And typically, an insurance company in the private sector, they're going to be pretty happy with around 80, 85, 90%. They would take that all day long, knowing they can make some up on the investments. If you look at the loss ratios across our different coverages and you take the 5-year view, we're at 47.9 for workers' comp, 50.5 for auto physical damage, and 43.8 for liability. Those are extremely low loss ratios. And so what that does is it frees us up to, again, provide you with resources and tools. There's different philosophies when it comes to insurance, right? I mean, in some philosophies, and I'm not saying either of them are right or wrong, I'm just saying they're different philosophies. One of them is to, not provide a tremendous amount of service and go ahead and pay claims and, go with that model. And that works for a lot of people. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. We have chosen a model where we will aggressively serve through training, through doing policy reviews, through coming alongside you, whether it be legal matters, whatever. and try to be very, very aggressive on the front end in a proactive manner in order to keep down the losses on the back end. That's just the model that we've chosen to adopt, and I think some of those numbers kind of bear that out. As we kind of make our way around the wheel there below, and I'll hit them all, try not to make you dizzy as I zip around there. Some of the different things that we do just from a service standpoint, assessments, we develop policies, we're doing inspections, we do loss trend analysis, we'll do ergonomic reviews of workstations, we assist getting safety committees off the ground or rejuvenated if they've kind of been struggling. We do a lot with EPL, employment practices, that's your HR type activities. And then when I talk about claims administration, risk management, it really ties into the right-hand side. One of the things that we have found to be very successful is every one of our members gets a dedicated loss control person, so a safety individual. That's the one that's coming out and doing the excavation hands-on and the confined space training and the work zone and some of those meatier topics. That's an individual that's assigned to you. We have a similar philosophy over on the HR side in EPL. So the employment practices, the HR services that come with it, you have a dedicated person. And so that relationship is formed back and forth. You begin to understand each other, what your needs are, what your organization looks like, and how we can be most impactful. And then the last thing that we have is a dedicated work comp person assigned to you as well. Same kind of deal. We find that over time, if you're used to working with an individual, this wasn't the way that we always did it, but we've switched over to this about 7 years ago. And so when you work with that one person, you begin to know each other very well. That can help keep the time to get somebody back to work and fully healthy. It can keep that down, and it also can help manage some of the costs. Now, if you jump to the next page and join me here, this is where I think we really start to see what's unique about CIVMIC. The training courses that we offer, we do a tremendous amount of training in the areas of supervisory and management. So some of those soft skills, and we're seeing this get used more and more, conflict resolution, diversity and inclusion has been a huge one lately. Anti-harassment, on and on and on, soft skills, supervisory skill sets. Because oftentimes in a municipality, what we see is an individual will work and be a great employee, and one day they get promoted to supervisor and they just struggle. And we wonder, why are they failing and why aren't they succeeding? Well, that skill set was totally different than what it takes to be a good supervisor and a good manager. And so philosophically, we believe that if you equip people at that supervisory level, that feeds both sides of the organization. It's good for the employees, and it's good for upper management that has to hopefully deal with less challenges throughout a day. So you can look at some of the different topics that we have there in safety and risk management, HR, and as I mentioned, management and supervision. But we recognized a while ago that our delivery methods needed to expand. We do a lot of on-site training, and we're happy to come and do that. And I have said for years that not a single member in the state should ever be penalized for their location. Rhinelander's not the closest member that we have, but there's ones that are further. We've got all four corners. We're Superior, Onalaska, Kenosha, Green Bay, and a lot in between. But we've always made it a point to not penalize the member. However, access is key. And so we've created online learning modules. We've just partnered with a new LMS, a learning management system, so that you can keep track of every training that has ever been done. In fact, if you went out right now and you gave me an employee, I could tell you every training that they have ever done that has been put in the CIVMIC system, internal or external. You can use that for any kind of training that you want to do. Maybe it's something in-house or that you brought in from the outside. We have over 100 recorded webinars. We do a different webinar every month, and we try to tie it to whatever's timely and what's going on out there in the real world. We try to bring in speakers that are going to really be helpful to you. In fact, we just had one today. We set a record. We had 300 people participate in a webinar. Bless you. And we had to actually cut registrations. So that has been a highly successful way of reaching our membership. We've just added video streaming. This is not something that we did until this year, and so now you got in public works, maybe you got a day where it's raining and you can't get out and do some of the construction you were going to do. Well, guess what? We've got some streaming videos. We've got a few training topics to take care of. Let's everyone sit down and go through what it is we need to go through. And so we're trying to reach you in a number of different ways. In that training summary, it's kind of got the wheel and the number of attendees. We're pretty lean and mean. We don't have a huge staff, but we got out last year and did 757 training programs. That was either on-site or regional. So those are the two different ways that we reach you when it's called an in-person session. We'll either be here in your backyard, or we'll do something maybe in Wausau or Anago or Stevens Point, and we'll invite you down to be a part of it. I mean, you can come down to Wauwatosa and join us anytime you want, but that's the regional concept. And the real benefit is you are in the room with other peers with the same challenges, doing the same things that you do. And we often find those connections that are formed in those trainings are just as, if not more valuable than the content, that's being provided. We've taken all of our content, or a good part of our content in the management world, to a facilitated workshop, so it's not a lecture. You're not going to sit there and listen for 8 hours. That's almost cruelty. It's going to be a participative, it's going to be an engaging session, and we've made a very conscious effort to bring in everything up to that style of learning. Other ways that we're monitoring it, the training hours, you can see that the webinars are on there. Those percentages are shifting. This year I'm pretty sure this graph is going to look different next year, let's just say that. We'll see how it all shakes out. So in addition to the training, in addition to the services, we have advantage programs for all of our members. Some of the things that we capture in there, of course, dividends, I mean, that's pretty standard, but we do a grant program, and that's where we offer a 50-50 match out to our members to a certain amount. If you're trying to purchase something in the world of safety, whether it be training, equipment, you need to go to a conference, and it's hard to get through the budget, we'll come alongside you and we'll match up to $5,000 on a 50-50 grant program. That may not sound like a lot, but when you put it over 52 members, we average a little bit over $300,000 a year that we give back to our membership just through that program alone. Some of the other things that we have going on that are kind of unique, we do a member spotlight program, so we encourage our members to submit creative ideas and we reward them for doing so, and we create a short little video and celebrate them and get that information back out to other members. We have found that to be kind of a neat way to reward people. NeoGov. So we pay for all the NeoGov software, the NeoGov products that you would have, the Insight, the onboarding, and there's a third one, it's slipping me right now. But we pay for those on behalf of our membership. We found our members were out buying these products, and they were spending pretty big dollars to do so. And so we, again, used that collective buying power, made an agreement with NeoGov, and now we offer it out to the entire membership. And like 47 out of the 52 use that product. Information technology, so we do IT assessments, a 50-50 match program. We'll come alongside you and we'll help you get out and assess your network and assist you in deferring the costs. The other thing that I just want to mention on this page is we started something that unfortunately has been getting used quite a bit, and that's the Protective Services Peer Support Program. We've kind of tweaked the name. It's the Mental Health Assistance Program now. So if an officer, for instance, is involved in a very traumatic incident and they're having a hard time, processing that, we have a collection of people around the state, peer groups, that are specifically designed and skilled in that area, because this typically does not work very well through an EAP. This is a very specialized thing that needs to be addressed, and we'll pay for up to 6 visits and sometimes a few more if needed for that individual to try to get themselves back on track. So again, that's a product that unfortunately has been getting used a lot, but I think we really hit on something with that. I want to leave room for time for questions. So just when you add it all up, and what does it look like? What does it mean in dollars, everything that we're giving back? In 2019, we gave back a little over $3 million, which was a down year for us. We average right around $4 million, and you see that in that 3-year return. So we bring in about 14 or 15, and we give back about 4 every year. I can almost tell my family I work for an insurance company, because I really feel like we're doing things the right way. We are truly stewards. We recognize this is your company, and we treat it as such. Partnership and action groups, we are constantly getting feedback from our members. What's your challenges? How can we help? What can we be doing? These are never ending. There's, in a year, there's probably between a dozen and 20 different ones of these that occur. I'm not going to stand here and read you testimonials. I think that would be a little weird. And then there's a board that we are operated by, and so we're broken down into small, medium, and large by population. Rhinelander would be in the small category. We have representatives, 2 from small, 2 from medium, 2 from large, and then 1 that is at large. We've had a very consistent board. They've pretty much been together outside of one of them who retired for the last 5 years. You may recognize Kay from right down the road. She's been a long-time serving board member for us from Anago. And she and the others have just been fantastic to work with. Nice diversity of skill sets on our board. The last thing I'll share is that picture there on the bottom with all the different logos, I just want to draw attention to the fact that Rhinelander is a founding member of CIVMIC. We have been together 34 years. In that time, we have returned in dividends alone $870,000 plus. You have an ownership stake in CIVMIC of around $178,000. This doesn't include the advantage programs, the trainings, the services. On average, we will we track by member contacts. On average, we have 16 member contacts in Rhinelander. We've had as many as 30, depending on what was going on and how we could help and how much you needed us. So we've appreciated the long-term relationship. I know that you're a part of a really unique success story, and I know it's insurance and it's really boring, but I guess from my viewpoint, it's a pretty cool story that we've been a part of together since we began. So, is there any questions on any of the material or any of the content that I covered? All right. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
And we'll invite Bill and Tony up to the podium, please, from League Mutual.
Good evening. My name is Bill Barnes. I run the business insurance group up on North Stevens Street, and I live at 6049 Wildwood Lake Circle. Tony?
I'm Tony Conlon. I live in Madison now, but I'm originally from Rhinelander. My folks live at 5619 Riverview Drive. So,
Thank you for having us. As I begin the hopefully it'll be less than 15-minute talk about the League Mutual. CIVMIC and the League Mutual are very similar in that they are both member-owned and member-governed. CIVMIC typically insures larger municipalities in Wisconsin. The League Mutual, small to medium-sized, though we do have some bigger accounts with bigger deductibles. I don't know if all board members, I assume all board members get a copy of the municipality. On the inside cover, you'll see an advertisement for the League Mutual. Normally it'll say coverage matters. And that's what I'd like to talk about tonight, coverage matters. And if you go to the back page, that's MPIC. All my municipalities up here, be it Medford, Merrill, Tomahawk, Eagle River, Crandon, Park Falls, Phillips, whomever, they all have League Mutual for the liability side, MPIC for the property side. I have given several property quotes through MPIC over the years here. They just have not yet been successful. So along those lines, I guess we're gonna propose something a little bit different. Again, as I said, CIVMIC, a little bit larger, perhaps some self-funding elements to it. Generally speaking, per claim, per liability claim, be it employment practices, public officials, there's this thing called a self-insured retention. It acts like a deductible. I think more often than not, it's $17,500 per claim, unless it's an employment claim, which I think we've experienced. I've seen it in the paper. That would be, I think, $30,000. So we're a little bit different. With all the municipalities that I have up here, we're first dollar coverage. And if there's one thing I was hearing tonight, is that the city is spending a lot of money on defense, on lawyers. The lawyer expense is big. So with my normal program, which I have quoted here, which is first dollar coverage, no deductibles, you get the coverage and you get the defense from Tony. Tony's our lead attorney. He handles all of our liability claims for the League Mutual. So if you have a general liability claim, you get the coverage, you get the defense. If you have auto liability, auto physical damage, excessive use of force with police professional, employment practices, public officials, all of those types of claims, that defense, that big, I think it might have been a $100,000 figure last year, you have the ability to eliminate virtually all of it, so long as that $100,000 figure related to auto claims, general liability claims, employment practices claims. That's the kind of thing that Tony and I do do together. Then in addition to that, we have some extensions of coverage, and one of these things that I pulled out of the local paper pertained to the Xpera tax dispute. I don't know if anybody was on the board at that time, but the League Mutual's coverage is broad. Coverage matters. So we actually, and this is, Tony does these all day long, if somebody is disputing their appraisal, and it could be Walmart, it could be Menards, Walgreens, who knows what's coming next? Could it be a Quick Trip? Could it be a Print Pack? Who's going to be bringing the next tax dispute? These are things that we defend on your behalf, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring Tony up here, because he's the man that's trying to preserve the tax base. He's trying to, when Walmart comes to you after 10 or 12 years and says, our valuation at 12 million is too high, we want it at 6 million, he's the guy that's going to enter the claim. We cover those claims up to $50,000 per claim with a maximum of $250,000 per year. So again, it's a transfer from over there, your attorney, to over here, up to $50,000 per claim. So back in the day, this goes back a little while now, but this was Blaine Olborn, and Blaine...
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Hey Val, how many disputes do we have out there? Right, they've been settled, but how many of them are in?
Greens, we had Walmart, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Menards.
Menards, yep, Menards. Cary Incorporated right now is dealing with personal property manufacturing. That's through the state.
Okay, yep, but those are things that we would
Yep.
look at as well, subject
Yep.
to that $50,000 worth of defense.
We've lost a lot of money through the years.
Yeah, this one I thought was interesting because Blaine had told me that the valuation came down $17 million. And again, this is what our staff does. This is what Tony does. We're trying to preserve the tax base. In this particular example, I think you lost over 4%. Over 4% of your annual revenue was gone. It was like $170,000. And again, I run into Mark Pelletier because I'm a local guy. And Mark said at the December meeting, he had to carve out $200,000 worth of services. He had to make them go away. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide extra coverage for tax disputes. I don't believe that you've had that. That's something that all 458 cities and villages, they all get this coverage. They get this coverage. So again, that was $170,000 lost year in and year out. Earlier this year, because again, I get the paper, here I am, the city had to send Walmart back $65,000. We get these claims, Tony, how many Walmart claims do we?
Not just Walmart, but tax disputes, we got about 78 pending right now across the state.
78 pending right now. So in the event that Walmart brings a claim in 18, 19, 2020, 21, $50,000 that we will put towards your defense to preserve the tax base. So my question to the board then is, who's next? Who's going to come and want to shrink their building or their valuation from 6 million to 3 million, or from 10 million, and then it's a redistribution, or you just cut. And I think back in the day, that was what we did here. So again, for general liability claims, auto liability, police professional, you get the defense, you get the coverage, you get the defense. In addition, we cover claims for land use. In 2016, 3 of our 6 largest claims were for land use claims. You also get coverage for lateral freeze-ups. Several years ago, when there was no snow cover and all the laterals were freezing up and the utilities were sending electricity down into the pipes, but the electricity was going other places, causing bodily injury or property damage, we cover those types of claims. And sometimes you're immune to those types of claims, but the defense is very expensive. So that's something else that we do. And then I think over time, there has been some sewer backup claims here in the city of Rhinelander. We cover those with our base policy, and it's subject to negligence, but we do cover sewer backups. And we also have an option, which Zach has seen, for no-fault sewer in the event that if the landowner doesn't have coverage under their personal insurance policy, then we can provide coverage under the no-fault option as well. So other than that, the League Mutual has been increasing their education and their online services that are available to you folks. Police online has been a big winner for us. We also have the same service through Lexipol for all the other departments as well. In addition to that, we do send out our staff people to do field inspections and work with your department heads with regards to any of the services that they might need help with, safety services. So with that, again, as I started, coverage matters. You'll see it at the beginning of the municipality. The League Mutual advertises coverage matters. And what we're trying to do is extend and broaden the coverage, and we're trying to include a number of things that the municipalities need. And then in addition, if your comfort zone is with a $10,000 deductible or $25,000 deductible, those have been proposed as well. The premium figures and deductibles have been given to Zach. So I've always wanted to have Tony come up here. You guys wrestled with a number of different types of claims. I would presume you've had the lateral freeze-ups, the sewer backups, the dark store claims have been frequent, and they've cut into your budget, your available revenues. So if you have any questions about anything.
Thanks, everyone. I recognize I'm the third person talking to you about insurance, so I will absolutely be brief. I just wanted to take a moment. I do work for an insurance company, and what I would emphasize to you is, the training opportunities, some of the guidance that was referenced earlier is important, but that's when it comes to the end of the day, that's extra stuff. What matters is what's covered and what's not covered. I can tell you that the league coverages are second to none. Again, Bill already did an outstanding job of going through that stuff. The tax assessment cases, we've got 78 of them pending across the state. Walgreens, Walmart, all of these big box stores, Menards. We're litigating those cases. We're taking some of them to trial. We're seeing good results on those. We're working towards settlement. If it means a matter of hiring the experts to get the assessment to the dollar amount that works for the city, we're working on defending those sorts of cases across the state of Wisconsin. So you'd have the benefits of that. We've got outstanding counsel that's working on those types of claims. The land use cases, the zoning cases, those are often very expensive cases for a municipality. If you don't have coverage for that, you're paying for it out of pocket. That's something to look at. It's something to worth consider how much you're spending on that. Injunctive relief claims. I'd just like to touch on it because it's such an important part right now. Police claims. We're certainly seeing those across the country. Fortunately, the environment in Wisconsin is certainly somewhat different. I'd just like to take the opportunity to say, we stand by our police. We've got outstanding officers, outstanding departments across the state of Wisconsin. When we litigate those cases, be it excessive force cases, we're able to see good results. Most of those we're able to get resolved on summary judgment, but just want to emphasize that those are not claims that we're afraid to contest or that we're afraid to try given the current sort of political environment around the state. And the last thing I want to touch on is customer service is essential to what LWMMI is, and it's essential to what I offer. If you have a claim, if you have a question, and you pick up the phone, I'm going to answer it. We've got another attorney, a senior staff attorney, Mark Andrews, who I supervise, who has extensive municipal experience. He's available as a resource to answer any questions that you've got. We've got 4 adjusters who specialize in general liability claims. One specializes in those. One specializes in sewer backup claims. We offer a no-fault coverage that's available. Those are common claims that we get. There's a coverage available for that. Then the auto physical damage, and like I said, the tax assessment. Again, the customer service component to insurance is something that I absolutely value, and I relish the opportunity to provide it for my hometown. So, thank you.
If that's it,
Thanks for having us.
you bet. Thank you. One of the things I'd like to discuss when it comes to the presentation of insurance carriers or whatever is staff input when it comes to that. And I know we discussed this during our department meetings as far as if they had some feelings one way or the other. And I know I'm putting you on the spot and you don't need to stand up. But as council makes a decision about changing the liability that directly affects our staff, if you have anything you'd like to say on behalf or any other way. The next part of this is the fact that we have a history with CIVMIC. We've had a long-standing, obviously, history with CIVMIC. That being the case, change and then the ushering through change is something that I said I'd always do. We started looking at contracts, and it was almost 2 years ago when it came to just about everything to do our taxpayers' due diligence when it comes to health insurance and or otherwise. And we're on project to save $168,000 about in health insurance, correct, this year? Wendy, you don't have to nod one way or the other. Okay, at the halfway mark, it was about 83,000. So that's why when we say we're going to shop and look and do our due diligence, it was something just that we offered to do. The RFP that Zach put together for the insurance companies, I think they both, and even the third would say, was very fair and thorough. It was substantially thick. I know Ryan's went through the rideshare proposals with me, and he's dumbfounded at all the stuff you have to look at when it comes to vetting these decisions. By no means is it saying that we're displeased with CIVMIC as far as that goes. It's just the fact that we owe it to our taxpayers to look at what those possibilities are and which one can serve us best. So that's the preface going into the next portion of this.
And just a couple other quick comments. I spared you all the long form of all the documentation. If you'd love to peruse it, we've got copies of it here. But in the packet on page 83 is really the cover sheet, the short form of comparison between the costs and the limits to the various proposals that we received. I think in my memo I indicated that the League Mutual actually did provide 3, but wasn't enough columns to fit it on the piece of paper. So I just did the $10,000 deductible, which is Mutual A. Mutual B is a $25,000 deductible, which is a higher deductible than we currently have, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend going that. It would have a negative budgetary impact, obviously, if we incurred claims. And then the proposed premiums for CIVMIC would be the 4th column, and then CIC is just frankly off the charts financially and out of reach. So when factoring the $10,000 deductible versus CIVMIC's $17,500 proposal, the League Mutual proposal comes in at a little bit less of a true dollar figure cost than the CIVMIC proposal. And then, of course, the additional no-fault sewer backup items are listed right below that in the center of the page. I guess that would kind of conclude my my statements on this, and certainly would welcome any comments or questions from council members.
Eileen.
In the third, maybe the gentleman from CIVMIC can answer this, or maybe the department heads can, but wondering how often do we use the training opportunities that CIVMIC provides? I mean, is this something that we typically take advantage of, or is it just like a little perk that's out there that doesn't get utilized?
Historically, yeah, go ahead. And I believe Terry can speak to this also if we need to hear it from our
Yeah, and that's a fair
Tom.
question. Admittedly, the last 2 years has been a little shaky, and that's where I had mentioned the contacts. So even in the tougher times, we've been getting out and having 10 or so contacts. Historically, you would see between 20 to 24 contacts. So that could be a training session, that could be a an on-site consulting, it could be an inspection, it could be any one of those things. But if you look at your training numbers over the years, Rhinelander has historically been a very high user of the services, which is also a factor. I mean, if you take even a very conservative amount for a training dollar, the small member average, it comes in like $17,000 to $30,000 a year in extra benefit. And I guess one thing I would just clarify is, we're very comfortable and used to small members. We have members with populations as low as 2,000. And in fact, the small member contingency of CIVMIC makes up the majority of our members. And so that at-large position on the board that I mentioned almost always goes to a small member because they simply have more in numbers when it comes to voting time. So I think members like yourself, for us, a small member is 15,000 and below, very well represented. Many of our services will hit you where you need it because from what I've seen in the marketplace, you're losing HR staff. Safety, I mean, people don't have any kind of a safety training program hardly to speak of anymore. They do the best they can at a departmental level, but if you had a kind of a higher level corporate safety person, they're gone. So we fill a lot of those HR, needs when it comes to just questions or picking up a phone.
Tom, would you like to speak on the safety training? You don't have to. I'm just asking sitting here.
If you look at my 6-month plan, on my monthly report, we just did finish up some
Thank you. And for the speakers, as far as at home, Tom said that during his 6-month plan in the report from his department, they just finished up some safety training with CIVMIC this year.
And I would just say the real value has come in the management and supervisory training. As important as safety training is, and obviously it is, it's that HR, it's those soft skills, that's where we're seeing it really take off within the membership as far as demand. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Tom?
Yeah, since we're a founding member of CIVMIC and we've been with them for 34 years, I would like to make a motion that we accept the CIVMIC and keep them as our insurance carrier.
There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
And there's a second. Further discussion.
I just think 34 years of service and being available to us at a moment's notice is worth a whole lot.
Okay. Andrew?
I wish we had a little more time to discuss this because, yeah, I have other thoughts that I would rather wait to say, so.
Okay. Once again, even thoughts and feelings as far as that goes can be done just in the voting and how you vote. Ryan, I believe he had his hand up, and then Tom, and then David.
Yeah, I mean, the 34 years is a long time. Value and what we get, I think, is more important. Loyalty, I understand that, but we need to represent our taxpayers, and if another insurance company is better, then I'm fine with moving forward with that company.
Tom?
I would seriously like to know, since it's the city employees that will be most affected by it, typically, do they have a preference? I mean, are they happy with CIVMIC? Are they looking for something else? I mean,
Actually, when it comes to liability coverage that's there, it doesn't necessarily affect them. If one of our truck drivers piles into 5 people, it falls upon us to figure out how to get that taken care of and taken care of correctly. They do offer, CIVMIC offers the training. The training obviously is a proactive approach. The proactive approach is if the people have the training, they won't get in the accidents. It sounds like, and this is just my wrap-up of this, it sounds like that the league has an approach that you need to be covered regardless of training or not, and they have a attorney at hour one willing to serve. And that's just what I gathered from this, and if I'm wrong, I apologize.
So this insurance, how much of it does affect our employees?
I would say in terms of the value perspective, so I think both carriers provide HR resources, for example. I know Wendy and I, on occasion, the Federal CARES Act or the family coronavirus FMLA policies have changed, and we get a ton of really crazy, I mean, they're all over the field, questions that we haven't encountered before. So I would say I have now had experience with both carriers personally, and I can say that, you know, that's a service that the city would value from in both instances. I think it comes to risk mitigation and preparing for that coverage that might arise, right? It's all about risk. They're insuring our risk. So I would say the HR resources, certainly the safety trainings. You know, COVID scrambled things, so I know our experience in getting some trainings going was difficult this year with CIVMIC, and I'm not sure if it was a product of just retooling and reconfiguring, or finally getting those folks this far north. I mean, there's probably a confluence of factors, right? So I would say that those are some of the pieces where city employees would interact most. And I can say, you know, that both of them would provide probably very comparable level of trainings. If it were, like, I've sat through some webinars with CIVMIC this year, and they've been very similar to those that I've experienced with League Mutual. So it's really kind of a toss-up. And I guess if there are concerns or questions, I mean, we've got some time if there's really a desire to postpone for further deliberation and discussion. I would just add that if
it was a pretty thick packet that went out and is brought to you today. Real quick, one of the ways I'd like to express when you talk about affecting our departments is you heard Gerald ask where the legal fees come from, and they come from each budget. Mm-hmm. So would they have more freedom with their budget possibly if it was already covered by our insurance? Of course. You know, so that directly would affect their budget where they don't have to worry about expenses that were unexpected coming out. So chief's like, okay, there goes the car this year. There goes the truck this year.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Andrew. I definitely would like more time to.
All right, David?
Well, that might be a moot point mine, because I was going to ask for the same. First, I was going to ask if we needed to make a decision, and if not, by what time or when do we need to make a decision by? Then the third thing would be, I think that we need time to absorb the distinctions between these two plans, given that we just got a presentation, and not make a decision right now.
Timeline, Zach?
Well, because we meet every 2 weeks, the 23rd will be our next meeting, and I would look to the carriers because our coverage ends effectively December 31st at midnight, right, or somewhere variety thereof. So I would say that we probably have another meeting safely to discuss and ask questions and reach out to these folks, certainly if there are questions too.
I'd like to point out again, this is why we have meetings every 2 weeks, is because we do not have to make rushed decisions. There's nothing that can't wait 2 weeks. And I can promise you, even with my staff and the accountability of pushing some of the topics, it's to make sure we have those things answered so we're correct. Tom?
So in light of that, I would be willing to withdraw my motion and make a new motion to table this until our next meeting.
Excellent.
Larson, second.
Have to, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll second that motion too.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Tom?
Motion to table is a non-debatable motion. You can make a motion to table while your motion's on the floor, Tom. So what I would, as a parliamentarian, say is you made a motion to table, which is okay, you can table your own motion. It was seconded, now the motion should be to table.
There's no debate.
Your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no debate.
Yeah, there's no debate, and it takes a 2/3 vote.
Okay. So we will take a 2/3 vote to table this, or we'll take a vote.
One more thing.
Yes.
Just It sounds like there's been some sort of an assessment from city staff, and
A motion to table is not debatable.
Yeah, we're
You
not
gotta call
debating
for
that
a
part.
vote.
Yeah, call for a vote.
we can't, there's no discussion with that?
Nope, then you vote against the motion to table and you keep talking.
You're still
All right.
talking.
That's fine. We don't need to.
Val, please call roll.
What, we're voting on tabling?
Yeah.
Why does she have to call roll?
What?
Why does she have to call roll?
Call, because it takes a 2/3 vote to table it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Val? Oh, yeah, sorry. Roll call? Sorry.
Mikulowski,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rossing,
Aye.
Kelly. Barnett,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Tabled to the next meeting where it'll be agendized. Oh. All right.
Know that you have to put that on the agenda next, you have to act on it, because you tabled it to the next meeting, so you can't ignore it.
D, updates on the Routes to Recovery CARES Act grant.
Nothing of major significance here, other than the deadline has been extended till November 17th for expenditures. The state also did invite additional costs beyond the threshold, not making any promises that we would get reimbursed, but there is a potential that if there's costs that continue to occur in excess of the costs that we've already submitted for, that they will be considered. So that's all I have for that.
All right. Approval of agreement with Northwoods Connect for the use of a water tower and internet service.
One of those other long-standing work product items that have been on my desk, and I'm pleased to say we've negotiated a lease agreement that you all have in front of you. It's different than what was in the packet because there was a page that was on the backside that got inadvertently left from the packet, and there was some additional changes made to it this today, which I attempted to highlight. In effect, the city is agreeing to, in this lease, agreeing to allow Northwoods Connect to attach some of their equipment very similar to AT&T and Verizon have across the city on our water towers. And then in exchange for that, they'll be paying a monthly fee. They've asked to also give consideration to the tower on West Birchwood Drive next to Menards for potentially taking up some service extensions over in that side of town. And then we're also agreeing to have them provide us internet service here at City Hall and the various locations listed on the lease. And there's 2 on there subject to their tech capabilities. And so I can say that from a cost perspective, the $150 per calendar month per tower is very similar to what our current AT&T and Verizon leases are for. And then the $600 a month is actually fairly substantially less than what we're currently paying in effect, because we're going to be adding some additional capability. And I will also add that this is the first domino in the IT consolidation project that we've been working on behind the scenes. So I know Tara's been in discussions with these folks for longer than I, but it's been on our plate almost monthly, and of course dealing with some of the things that they've had to work through on their end. And then we're also throwing in there something we thought we'd ask for and they agreed to, and that is to provide internet service at Hodag Park. Given that we anticipate that there might be some improvements happening at that location, thought we'd ask, and they agreed to at least provide initial sessions for folks to be able to use at Hodag Park, which is kind of cool. Timeline on that, I said, it depends on the improvements at the park, but I could see if the beach house could be a place that they could easily light up, given there's activity there, maybe the ball diamonds, et cetera. So that's really the contents of this lease agreement. The separation piece was a bit of a discussion because, let's say, because one of the 2 components, maybe our service is not as what they are proposing, and we want to back out, then we would renegotiate and end the term of the lease, which is 180 days. So we'll get into the IT details at a future meeting, but that's really the nuts and bolts of the agreement. And I'm really happy that the local company that wants to expand service in the city, and we're able to work with them on one of our water towers, or 2, I guess, potentially in this case. I don't know if Tara has.
I'll accept the motion.
I will make a motion to accept the lease agreement as presented.
Mikulowski, second.
That was Holt. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yep. Several.
One is, do we need to be specific about what tower we're talking about, or?
Sorry, Gerald, there was a version that was handed out at the meeting, and I thought I emailed it to you, so I apologize for that. I was fighting with even making copies of it tonight, so I apologize that I overlooked getting that to you. But it's the two water towers, one on Morrill Street, and then the other one by Menards.
And this is really a lot more than a lease. It's also a contract for IT services.
That's right.
All combined.
That's right. And Steve can maybe weigh in as to why we went this route, but it was after some debate both ways, I would say, on this. But we settled where we did because of the confidence factor that we've done our due diligence, and then the 180-day kind of separation opportunity if we didn't feel confident in their services.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this contract from the city's perspective as a win-win. And if you look at the fee structure, we're in pretty good shape compared to what other people pay to be on their water towers, especially when you consider what other people pay for the services you're getting. Now, I don't know what the services are going to be like. They may not be the highest quality services in the world, but that's why we put, and I know some people have some consideration that they may not be the highest quality, but we don't lose anything by doing that, the way it's written. The worst thing you got is 6 months of service.
Any further questions? Just due to the fact that it's a money issue, even though it's not necessarily money spent or whatever, I'm going to have Val call roll.
Daniel? Aye. Rossing?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Barnett? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Anderson? Holt?
Aye.
Mikulowski?
Aye.
Future agenda items, there's one I'd like to add to this, and that's the Stevens Street ATV accessibility, whether it be for discussion or, you know, rechecking or amending the ordinance. For the people at home listed on here, I'll say it out loud, is emergency orders if there were any, given the COVID case, approval of the AT&T lease amendment, consideration recommendation to selection of a consultant to perform the housing needs assessment that'll be coming due, presentation of the 5-year capital improvement plan, preliminary 2021 municipal borrowing scope, and that's been discussed with staff recently, and discuss yard waste drop-off site. Those were listed.
I want to make sure that we have the review of the ordinance for police and fire commission members on discussion for next 2 weeks from now.
You'll also be seeing shared ride taxi, I believe is also going to be for the next meeting.
And we also need to put on there the insurance.
Correct, your insurance.
He's going to gavel, so just so you know.
If that's it, we are at the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned.
I didn't want you to get scared again.